There was a time when every setback, every moment of pain seemed like a curse, a burden too heavy to bear. But what if I told you that the pain you're experiencing right now is not an accident, not a punishment, but a form of divine permission? Imagine that every trial, every tear, every hardship is God's way of saying, yes, I'm making room in you for something greater. When you feel crushed by the weight of your past, it may be because God is working in you in ways you can't yet see. The pain you're feeling isn't there to break you, it's there to build you up. Think about Joseph from the Bible, betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, and left to languish in prison. Every wound inflicted upon him was a step in God's plan. Joseph's journey was marked by pain, but each painful moment was actually permission for God to position him for an extraordinary purpose. Just like Joseph, you may find that the hardships you face are not random acts of cruelty, but the very tools that God is using to mold you into the person you're destined to be. The pain was permission, a sign that God is clearing away the old, making space for the new, and preparing you for a future that is far brighter than your current circumstances. When you're hurting, it can feel like the whole world is against you. The rejection you've experienced, the betrayals that cut deep, they seem to validate your doubts about your worth. But here's the truth. The pain you're enduring is not a reflection of your value. It's a necessary process of refining you, of making you lean into the strength and wisdom that only comes from overcoming. Each challenge is like a chisel in the hands of a master sculptor, gently but deliberately shaping you into a masterpiece. The pressure you feel isn't a sign of failure. It's a sign that you're being prepared for greater things. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that pain is something to be avoided at all costs, something to be hidden away or denied. Yet, what if you embraced it instead? What if you understood that pain is not the enemy, but a catalyst for growth? When you're in the midst of suffering, it might seem as though God has abandoned you, but in reality, He is right there with you. His love is not diminished by your pain, it is magnified through it. Every trial is an invitation to deepen your trust, to strengthen your faith, and to open your heart to a transformative love that only He can give. Consider the moment when you were forced to confront your deepest wounds. It might have been a heartbreak, a betrayal, or a loss that left you feeling empty. In that moment, you had a choice. You could let the pain define you, or you could let it refine you. If you choose to see it as permission, a green light from God saying, step into your destiny, then that pain becomes a turning point, a powerful catalyst for change. It's in those dark moments that the light of God shines the brightest, guiding you to a place of renewal and hope. Sometimes the hardest battles you face are the ones that lead to the most beautiful breakthroughs. What if every time you felt that sting of rejection, it was actually God gently redirecting you towards something far more fulfilling? Pain, when seen through the lens of faith, becomes a powerful signpost. It tells you that the old is ending and the new is about to begin. It's as if God is whispering in your ear, I know what you're going through, and I'm using this to bring about something amazing. Embracing your pain means acknowledging that it has a purpose. It's okay to grieve, to feel vulnerable, and to cry out for help, but know that every tear is not wasted. They are the stepping stones to a breakthrough. The pain you're experiencing is a reminder that you're alive, that you're growing, and that God is actively at work in your life, orchestrating every detail for your good. He is turning your struggles into stepping stones, your wounds into wisdom. So, next time you find yourself in the depths of despair, remember this: the pain you're facing is not a sign of God's disfavor. It is, in fact, the very permission He has given to mold you into a vessel of His glory. Embrace it, learn from it, and let it propel you into a future filled with promise, purpose, and a strength that only comes from walking through the fire and emerging refined. You've been wounded, not just scratched on the surface, but cut deep. You've carried pain that nobody sees and scars that no one understands. Maybe it came from betrayal. Someone you trusted turned their back on you. Maybe it came from abandonment. You reached out and no one showed up. Maybe it came from disappointment. You gave everything and it still wasn't enough. Whatever it was, that wound has shaped you. It's marked you. It's followed you like a shadow. But what if I told you that the wound wasn't meant to destroy you? What if I told you that the wound was never the end of your story, but the beginning of your weapon? The wound was a weapon. The enemy thought if he could hurt you, he could silence you. He thought if he could break you, he could bury you. But he underestimated the God who heals. He forgot that the same God who allows the wound is the God who repurposes it for glory. That's what he does. He takes the very thing the enemy used to try and take you out, and he turns it into the weapon that will lead others to freedom. Because God never wastes pain. If you give it to him, he will use it. Jesus didn't hide his wounds. After the resurrection, he didn't come back glowing and flawless. He came back with scars. When Thomas doubted, Jesus didn't respond with rebuke. He responded with proof. Look at my hands, look at my side. The wounds were the evidence, not of defeat, but of victory. The same hands that were pierced were the hands that now held the power of resurrection. The scars didn't take away from his story. They proved it. And it's the same with you. You've been trying to hide your wounds. You've been trying to move on, pretend it never happened, act like you're fine. But healing doesn't come through hiding. Healing comes when you say, this is where I was broken. This is what I went through. But God met me there. The wound becomes the weapon the moment you stop being ashamed of it and start letting God use it. Some of you have wounds from your childhood, words spoken over you that cut deeper than a knife. You were told you'd never be enough, never be loved, never be chosen. And for years you believed those lies, but that pain you endured, that's not where your story ends. When you let God heal that place, when you speak truth over that lie, that wound turns into a weapon. Suddenly you're not just surviving, you're helping others who heard those same lies. You're showing them that they are more than what they were told. It's a weapon. Others of you have wounds from relationships. You gave your heart to someone who didn't value it. You trusted someone who didn't deserve your trust, and it left you bruised. Maybe you started to believe that you're too damaged, too broken, too much to love. But let me tell you something, your heart still has a purpose. And when God gets a hold of it, he doesn't just patch it up, he strengthens it. That brokenness becomes a source of compassion. You'll be able to sit with someone in their pain and say, I've been there. I know what that feels like. And if God could heal me, he can heal you too. That's a weapon. What the enemy wants you to do is to shut down, to stay silent, to stay bitter, because he knows that a healed wound in the hands of a surrendered heart is dangerous. You're not just a victim, you're a vessel. You're not just carrying pain, you're carrying power. That thing that almost killed you, it's the very thing God's going to use to bring someone else back to life. So stop hiding, stop shrinking, stop believing that your wound disqualifies you. It doesn't. It's the evidence that you've been through something and you came out on the other side. It's the proof that you've walked through fire and God didn't let you burn. It's your testimony, and there's power in your testimony. Don't despise the wound. Don't curse the scar, because the wound was never meant to be the end. It was meant to be the beginning of your ministry, your message, your mission. You thought it was the thing that broke you, but God says it's the thing that will build you. The wound was a weapon all along. You thought they were going to be part of your forever. You thought that job was the breakthrough. You thought the door would open because you prayed, you believed, you fasted, you had faith. But then it slammed shut. They ghosted you. The opportunity dried up. They picked someone else. And you were left wondering, God, why didn't it work out? Why didn't they work out? Can I tell you something that's hard to hear but will set you free? The rejection wasn't the end, it was the redirection. You saw it as rejection because it didn't line up with your expectations. But what if it lined up perfectly with God's plan? What if he closed that door not to punish you, but to protect you from settling in a place he never called you to stay? Some of the people who walked out on you weren't meant to walk with you in this next season. You keep crying over who left, But God is trying to show you who still stands. You keep replaying conversations, overthinking text messages, trying to figure out what you did wrong. But what if you didn't do anything wrong? What if the rejection wasn't personal? It was providential. Sometimes God will allow the no because he's preparing a better yes. And sometimes that better thing won't even look better at first. It'll look lonely. It'll look like wilderness, but the wilderness isn't wasted when God is in it. He didn't let it fall apart to break you. He let it fall apart to build you differently. You would have stayed stuck in comfort. You would have clung to their approval. You would have based your value on their validation. So God stepped in and said, no, I love you too much to let you stay here. I've got more for you than this. That thing you thought you lost, it was never yours. If it was, it wouldn't have left. If it was God's best, it would have stayed. You didn't lose it, God removed it. He didn't reject you, he redirected you. I think about Samuel in the Old Testament mourning over Saul. God had told him Saul was no longer king, but Samuel couldn't move on. He kept grieving, he kept holding on. And then God showed up and asked, how long will you mourn what I've rejected? Oof, that's for someone right now. You've been mourning over something God already moved on from. You've been waiting on a call, a text, a confirmation from someone God already released you from. But what if the blessing isn't in getting them back, it's in letting them go? Rejection feels like a curse when you're in it, but on the other side, you'll see it for what it was, a course correction, a divine detour. You weren't denied, you were redirected. God closed that door because he saw what was behind it. He heard conversations you didn't hear. He saw hearts you couldn't see. He knows things you don't know. And you better believe that if he didn't let it happen, it wasn't supposed to happen. You keep saying, but they didn't choose me. But can I remind you, God chose you, and his choice trumps their rejection. When God chooses you, you don't need anyone else's value. When God appoints you, it doesn't matter who walked away. What they couldn't see in you, God put in you, and their inability to see your worth doesn't change the value God placed on your life. This is not the time to get stuck in self-pity. This is not the time to rehearse rejection. This is the time to reframe it. Because what if the closed door wasn't rejection, it was mercy? What if the breakup wasn't rejection, it was a blessing? What if the missed opportunity wasn't rejection, it was redirection into something so much greater than you ever imagined? God is not just the God of open doors. He's the God of closed ones too. He will shut it. He will block it. He will let it fall apart, not to punish you, but to preserve you. You thought it was rejection, but it was God saying, that's not your route. I've got something better. Keep moving. So wipe the tears, stand up straight. Thank God for every door he closed, because that closed door didn't stop you, it saved you. And where he's taking you, you won't even miss what you lost. It wasn't rejection, it was redirection. And you're right on schedule. You didn't want it to happen. You didn't ask for the pain. You weren't looking to be broken, but it found you anyway. The disappointment, the betrayal, the loss, the silence. And you wondered, God, where are you in this? If you love me, why does it hurt this much? But here's what I came to tell you. Sometimes God lets it hurt because healing needs space. You were so full of control, full of pride, full of their opinions, full of your plans, your preferences, your picture of how life was supposed to go. There was no room for healing, no room for restoration, no room for revelation, because you were living in survival mode, running at full capacity on things God never asked you to carry. So God let it hurt. He didn't cause it, but he allowed it because he saw what was underneath. He saw the fear masked by ambition. He saw the loneliness buried beneath busyness. He saw the ache behind that smile you wear so well. And he said, I can't heal what you're pretending isn't broken. So he let the cracks show. He let the walls fall. He let the person you depended on walk away. He let the plan you clung to fall apart, because it wasn't punishment, it was preparation. See, the hurt wasn't the end. It was the opening. The moment you ran out of strength was the moment he had space to step in. The moment you said, I can't do this anymore, heaven said, now we can work. Because God does his best work in empty places, in broken spaces, in surrendered hearts. We think healing is about going back to who we used to be, but God's not interested in restoring your past. He's building your future. Healing doesn't make you who you were. It makes you who you were always meant to be. And that version of you, the whole version, the grounded version, the one with peace, the one with joy that doesn't shake with circumstances, that version only comes after the hurt. Think about the woman with the issue of blood. She was bleeding for 12 years. 12 years of doctors, of failed treatments, of being cast aside and labeled unclean. 12 years of hurt. But the moment she reached out and touched Jesus, the healing came. Here's what hit me. She was only desperate enough to reach for him because she had run out of every other option. And maybe that's where you are now. Out of options, out of strength, out of pretending good. That's where healing begins, not in the polished version of you, but in the real, raw, wrecked version of you that's done trying to hold it all together. Sometimes God will allow the storm because the storm breaks the illusion of control. The hurt strips away the surface so God can touch the soul. And when he heals you, it won't just be physical, it'll be foundational. He'll heal the way you see yourself. He'll heal the parts of you that thought you had to earn love. He'll heal the lies you believed when you were little. He'll heal the bitterness you've been carrying in secret. He'll heal the habits that came from trying to numb pain instead of facing it. But he can only heal what you bring to him. You can't hide it and expect him to heal it. You can't fake peace and still pray for breakthrough. You've got to bring him the real you, the hurting you, the doubting you, the God, I don't know if I can trust you. And when you do, you'll find out that healing was never about the absence of pain. It was about the presence of God in the middle of it. He's not waiting for you on the other side of the hurt. He's with you in it. Right now, right here, in this valley, in this loss, in this tear-stained, soul-weary, heart-aching moment, he is healing you. You may not feel it all at once, but healing doesn't always look like a miracle. Sometimes it looks like momentum. You get out of bed again. You pray again. You forgive. You breathe. You keep showing up. That's healing. And one day you'll look back and say, the hurt made room for grace, for growth, for God. The hurt made room for healing, and healing made room for hope.